Good morning, everybody. I am Dave Ettinger, your host of the DaveTalksSports Podcast of CBS Sports Radio Network. How you guys doing? It is Thursday morning, June 27th, and it is 6:17 a.m. Got out of work a little bit early this morning. As always, you will be joining me on my commute home. Leave Manhattan around this time of day. Head on home to my beautiful home in Long Island. Got my family waiting for me, and I get to go right to sleep when I get home, so not so bad. As you can see, I'm wearing my Yankees shirt today. I am a Yankee fan. I've mentioned that before. We're not always going to talk about the Yankees, but until they lose, we will be. It's not just that. We got to talk about Kevin Durant opting out of his player option for this upcoming season. I think we all knew that was going to happen. Marc Gasol opting in to his player option in Toronto. I also think we knew that was going to happen because as good as Marc Gasol has been in his career, I think we can all agree at this point, being 34, going to be 35 in January, I don't think he's worth $26.5 million. So I think that we saw that coming as well. So NBA free agency, we talked about it yesterday on episode number 2. This is episode number 3 of the Dave Talk Sports Podcast. Of course, you can find it on my YouTube channel, named after the show, Dave Talk Sports, and it'll be all over the place on my sports blog, DaveTalkSports.com, my Twitter, at DaveEttinger2. You can tweet me if you watch the video, if you just want to get some sports reactions in there. You can find me on Facebook, on my Dave Talk Sports Facebook page. I'm everywhere. You can't get rid of me. So, free agency period coming up officially in 3 more days. I can't wait. It's like a kid on Christmas morning. It's just going to be awesome to see where Kawhi Leonard's going to go, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, all the different news that's floating around. It's going to be very interesting as a Knicks fan. Probably watch them swing and miss completely, but I told you yesterday, I personally think Kawhi Leonard coming to the Knicks. But let's move on from that. Like I mentioned, Kevin Durant, he's opted out of his contract. He was set to earn $31.5 million if he had opted in. Some people thought that was an option because of the ruptured Achilles injury. Personally, I don't think that was ever an option. Most people said it wasn't either because he's still getting max contract offers all over the place. Whether it's with the Knicks, whether it's with the Nets, which is now rumored, and I believe they're the front runner as far as Vegas is considered, that Kevin Durant will be going to the Brooklyn Nets. Hey, listen, if it happens, it happens. Good for them. I don't begrudge any team who, wins a free agent because that's really what this is. It's a competition. And, some people think that he's going to sign and trade and leave Golden State that way. And if you're the Knicks, you definitely don't want to do that. And honestly, I don't think any team wants to do that. I get it from the Warriors' standpoint. They want to get something for him opposed to losing him for nothing. But Kevin Durant at 5 years, an insane amount of money, I don't think that is necessary because he's going to get max contracts absolutely everywhere. The other rumors out there we talked about yesterday for a little bit, Jimmy Butler, he's definitely leaving Philadelphia. So a sign and trade rumor has been floating around that he's going to, be sign and traded to Houston, be paired up with James Harden and Chris Paul. I think that would be a great fit on the basketball court. But even more news out of Houston is that they are officially making the owners, the general manager, they're saying they are making Clint Capella their center, Eric Gordon, a nice sixth man, a really nice shooter, a nice piece on the floor, making them available, as well as PJ Tucker. So all these guys are going to be made available. So we'll see what breaks down there. They're trying to clear cap space for a guy like Jimmy Butler, who can be a really, really nice third piece to a James Harden and a Chris Paul. They could really use someone who can give them offense outside of Harden and defense, and Jimmy Butler definitely gives you both of those. So that's the news from the NBA world. Again, not much outside of that's going to be happening. We were just waiting on Durant to see if, officially have him opt out, which he's done, of his contract, his player option, and now we just wait. We wait till 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, June 30th. That's this Sunday coming up. Cannot wait. You're a basketball fan, it's like being a kid on Christmas morning. So, like I mentioned, we still have to talk about the Yankees. They won again, this time in walk-off fashion. Gleyber Torres hits as a walk-off hit and wins the game again over the Blue Jays. The Yankees seemingly can't lose right now. They've won, I believe it's 11 of their last 13. Don't quote me on that, but that's about the pace that they've been on. Every time it looks like they're going to lose, they win. They pull something out of their hat, a rabbit out of their hat, and all these young players. And now I know Giancarlo Stanton injured going back to the IL, but now you have that insurance policy of Edwin Encarnacion. I heard some people criticizing this move as if like getting Edwin Encarnacion precluded them from getting a pitcher in not free agency, in the trade market. One has nothing to do with the other. But also, it was a good move because you have all these players coming back from injury. Stanton, Didi, Judge, all these guys coming back, and now you have this. To have Edwin Encarnacion as an insurance policy is amazing. And now he can play. He can be the everyday DH. He can spell Luke Voigt at first base every once in a while. Other days, DJ LeMahieu's going to play first base. So I would like to hear all the people, Yankees fans included, who said that the Edwin Encarnacion, let me say his name right, deal was not a good idea or somehow was going to get in the way of them getting a pitcher in the trade market. It's just one has nothing to do with the other. Obviously, just a smart move to add some depth and a great insurance move. So, come on. Come at me if you were one of those people who was criticizing that trade and now all of a sudden you love it. Yeah, okay, thanks. Join me. The Mets. Yeah, I feel like I'm talking about the Mets every day, but they keep doing it to themselves. They cannot win. They are the polar opposite of the Yankees. The Yankees are something like 24 games, I believe. 24 games over 500. The Mets are now 7 games under 500. Now losers of 4 in a row. Losers of, I believe, 8 of their last 11. And it's kind of like deja vu at this point. They keep doing it to themselves in the same fashion. They build a lead. Jason Vargas, again, pitched very well yesterday. Had only 77 pitches with 10 strikeouts, mind you, through 6 1/3 inning. Then they pull him from the game. They bring in an overworked Seth Lugo. Then they try to get through with Diaz and these other, like Gesellman, these other relievers. Listen, their bullpen is terrible. Over the last month, the New York Metropolitans have the worst bullpen ERA-wise in all of baseball. That ERA over the last month is 8.10. That is atrocious. I think if I stepped up to the plate, I used to play a little bit of baseball. I haven't picked up a baseball bat in over a decade. I think I could get a hit off these guys at this point. It's just ridiculous. It's just absurd. And this is another game. You have a multiple run lead. You go to the bullpen and you expect your bullpen, like good bullpens like the Yankees and other teams that have good bullpens and depth and guys who can give you multiple innings. They cough up leads left and right, and that's what the Mets did again. They blow another game. They lose again to the Phillies. Again, that's 4 in a row and 8 of their last 11. Mets, Will Ponce, whoever's making the decisions, you must fire Mickey Callaway. I'm not a big fan of calling for people's jobs, but you must fire Mickey Callaway. He is way in over his head. He has no idea what he's doing. And even if he's not making as many decisions as he claims he is, in-game and whatnot, you have to do something. You are wasting a season of Pete Alonso. You are wasting a good season of Michael Conforto, who's finally staying healthy, playing well, showing him some of his potential. And Jeff McNeil, a guy you could have relied on probably every day instead of bringing in Robinson Cano. But you have to do something. Sorry, Mickey. Firing Mickey Callaway is the move. You got to get it done. All right, in other baseball news, this was a sad story, and it brings me to a much larger point. All right, a couple weeks ago, there was a little girl at a Houston Astros game who got struck with a foul ball in the stands. Now, this is something that continues to happen. Unfortunately, someone has passed away due to being struck by a foul ball at a Major League Baseball game, and multiple people get injured every single season. Now, Major League Baseball, the instant that someone died or was seriously injured, should have come right out and mandated every team to extend the protective netting all the way down to the left field and right field, foul poles out in the outfield. Everything but a ball that's hit, well, either way up over the net on a pop-up in foul territory or a home run, should be protected by this net. There is no argument to the other side. You could leave comments in the YouTube section here. You can get at me on Twitter, again, at Dave Ettinger 2. There is no argument for the other side. This is a baseball game, right? And we're talking about little kids. We're talking about people who don't have the reaction time of professional athletes to stop baseballs from hitting them or their children in the stands. This latest example is a 2-year-old girl who has a fractured skull now, we're learning, and seizures and bleeding in her brain. I mean, these are horrifying things to have happen. And it's unbelievable that these things happen and there still are not measures being taken to protect people at baseball games. Now, I don't care who you are, how great of an athlete you think you are or were. If you're in the stands and you got a glove and you think you can protect yourself, all right, great for you. I happen to be one of those people. I think that I could catch anything that comes at me. You know, I'm a decent athlete. I played a lot of sports as a kid. I could clearly catch a baseball coming at me. But that's not the point. I'm not in uniform. I don't have a glove. I'm not in cleats. I'm not on the field. I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to stop those baseballs. I'm at my game. Imagine I go as a spectator, me personally, even though I could catch the ball, and probably if I'm sitting there by myself, I'm there with my 4 kids. All right, my youngest kid is 10 months old. All right, so if I'm preoccupied with him, all right, because for a second he doesn't want to look at the game, he looks away, or he wants to crawl around somewhere, and I'm preoccupied and distracted, one of us can get struck with a baseball. So if that netting is there, that's not happening, and I'm safe, my kids are safe, everybody else is safe. So what's keeping Major League Baseball from mandating that these changes take place? You have the All-Star break coming up. It's very simple. During the All-Star break, this is what MLB's statement should be. Again, I apologize for any of the sun glare. This is going to be an ongoing issue with about halfway home on my ride. So it's even better for you. You don't have to see my whole face. You could just enjoy all the things that I'm saying. Major League Baseball should be coming out with a statement. During the All-Star break, every single team will be mandated to run the netting all the way to the foul poles, left field and right field, because we'd love to avoid further injury of anyone attending games. Simple, period, end of story, done. You get rid of all that liability. You avoid any future lawsuits, deaths, injuries, anything like that. There is no argument to the other side. If you think you can make it, bring it. I got every answer to every argument you could possibly make for why you're Mr. Joe Tough Guy and you're going to stop the foul ball from hitting some kid in the face. There is no argument to the other side. How about we evolve? How about we be human beings and say, this is dangerous. These baseballs are flying off these bats faster than ever, harder than ever, because of the size and the strength of these athletes. And it's not the athlete's fault. You get the players who hit these balls, they don't want these kids to get hurt. They don't want other people to get hurt. I believe that was a Cubs-Astros game. I'm pretty sure it was Albert Almora Jr. who hit that ball. Pretty sure about that. And he was absolutely inconsolable after that happened. Because you see the images of this 2-year-old girl being carried out screaming and crying and carrying on because she just got hit in the head with a baseball. There is no argument to the other side. Simple, period. I don't care if you're someone who says, well, the net is going to be a distraction. It's going to be hard for me to see through the net. Okay, first of all, it's not. If you've ever sat behind those nets, if you've sat behind home plate, it's really not a distraction. It's really not that big a deal. But even if it was, even if it made it more difficult for somebody to watch the baseball game by a little bit, who cares? You're potentially saving lives. It's very simple, cut and dry. Major League Baseball, get it done. Don't let anybody else get hurt. It is that simple. Not every answer to sports issues and controversies and problems is that simple. This one is. Period. End of story. Cut and dry. We're going to move on to a different sport that doesn't get as much play. People don't talk about it as much, and that's tennis. But you have tennis's biggest tournament, arguably its biggest tournament in Wimbledon coming up, and there's been a rule change. Now, it's an interesting one because Wimbledon has kind of stood alone. It's been a little bit unique in that when you get to the 5th set for the men or the 3rd set for women, there's normally in other tournaments a tiebreaker, right? So in tennis, you get to 6-6, you go into 6 games apiece, you go into a tiebreaker. You have to win by 2 within the tiebreak, but once that is over, somebody wins that set 7-6. End of story. Well, in Wimbledon, it doesn't work that way. You have to win by 2 games opposed to 2 points within that tiebreak. So you have instances like John Isner, a good, solid American tennis player, against Nicholas Mahut, who played the longest match in the history of tennis that spanned over 3 days. And I couldn't even remember the score if I had to. It was 60-58 or something ridiculous. Something in that range. That will not happen anymore. You could still go past 6-6. You could still go past 10-10. They've actually changed the rules so that if a 5th set, at Wimbledon gets to 12-12, that then they will go to a tiebreaker. So it's essentially like playing 2 sets in one. Once it gets to that point, you're essentially getting to a tiebreaker in the 6th set, if such a thing existed. And then it's going to be decided in the tiebreak format. All right. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. Honestly, I know Wimbledon wants to stand alone. It wants to have different rules and different policies and the way you dress and all these different things. That's all fine. Just move it back to a tiebreak. What's wrong with the 5th set in Wimbledon being decided in a regular old tiebreak 7-6? I don't get the problem. I really don't. But they've taken a step in the right direction, so we'll see how this goes. I tell you, I'm not a big fan of this sun glare. So my podcast, like I mentioned, is you joining me on my commute home. You can see me driving home. I'm driving home on the expressway. And once I hit a certain point, you see it change to where there's this major sun glare going on. And if I move the visor any higher, it's really hard for me to see. So I don't know. You guys let me know in the YouTube comment section. You let me know how this looks. If you think I need to do this podcast at a different time of day where you can actually see me. All right, a lot of things going on in the sports world, like I mentioned. Another thing I want to quickly touch on before we get out of here. Professional athletes, they make a lot of money, right? Some of them are celebrities, some of them are not, some of them fly under the radar. So maybe a guy you don't know, or maybe you do, but you don't know that much about him, is Alan Crabb. All right, he's been on a handful of teams here in the last couple of years. He's been on the Portland Trailblazers. Most recently, he was on the Brooklyn Nets. And he's been traded, reportedly, it's not official, but he's been traded to the Atlanta Hawks. Doesn't matter what team he's on because yesterday he got cited with a DUI. listen, I'm not here to sit on my high horse and judge people. Everybody makes mistakes, all right? That could be a really dangerous one. People can lose their lives in that as well. But when you have, and no one should get a DUI. I'm not saying just professional athletes should be able to take these precautions. Nobody should drink and drive, all right? I'm not promoting that in any way. But it's a hell of a lot easier when you're a professional athlete making millions of dollars to have a driver, to have that disposable income when you're out, to have somebody sit there wherever you might be drinking, whether it be at a restaurant or a bar. Pay somebody $300, $400, $500 to sit there for a couple hours and wait in your car or their car. And a lot of people who will do that for a night, give up 4 hours of a Saturday night, a Wednesday night, whatever night it may be, and say, yeah, I'll gladly sit in your car, wait until you're done with your evening, and I'll come pick you up. Now, you don't even need to do that and spend $500. You could just get a taxi or an Uber or have a friend pick you up, or walk home, or train, or bus, or whatever. But when you're a professional athlete with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to spare, pay somebody $500 to sit in your car and just sit around until you're done and drive you home. To me, I don't get it. So it's really unfortunate that another professional athlete has come down with a DUI. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But like I said, this has been another episode of Dave Talks Sports. I am your host, Dave Ettinger of CBS Sports Radio Network. This is episode 3. Hope you didn't mind the sun glare once again. But we'll deal with it because I got a lot to say. And anybody, just because it's the end of June and we're heading into the quote-unquote dog days of summer, who says there's nothing to talk about in sports, even if they work in sports, you don't really like sports all that much because there's always something to debate, always a list that can be made, always a team to be talked about, always something going on in the sports world. So use it as a distraction, use it as whatever you may. Sports is awesome, and there's always something going on. So I hope the Yankees never lose a game ever again. If the Mets will ever win a game ever again, I have no idea. As I mentioned to you again, let me reiterate. Mickey Callaway's got to go. Just do it. Rip it off like a Band-Aid. All right? This is Thursday morning, June 27th. I am Dave Ettinger of CBS Sports Radio Network on the Dave Talks Sports Podcast. Enjoy your Thursday, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow morning.